in the Big East, you can't get a bad loss, really. You can get a disappointing loss. You can lose to DePaul, which is struggling right now, and that's a disappointing loss, but it's not going to be one that stains your resume. It's a missed opportunity, but it's not something that's going to scar you. The scar comes from accumulation. You just, at a certain point, you just can't keep losing games and expect to get in. But we've seen teams get in with as many as 15. I don't think we've had a 16 yet. If we have, it's a one-off. I mean, and I'm not saying it can't happen again, but we have. If we've had a 16, it's the only 16. But we've had 15 now that teams are playing more games, and there have been 14s. 16 and 14 got Villanova in '91, the phenomenal year I covered the Big East when I was covering Pitt, and they had 8 teams that could have gotten in out of 9. That they had that, but you want to keep your losses below 14 or 15 if you want to feel comfortable about getting in.
Who's the team in the Big East that recently, in the last week or two, has gained the most?
Well, I think Xavier saved its life, so to speak, its tournament life with the Seton Hall victory, because after the Marquette loss at home in double overtime, there was the look of a team that was losing its grip on the season, that didn't, and knowing that you had to go to the best team in your league and play on the road. And I give the Musketeers a ton of credit, because they didn't just go out and play okay and play, or catch Seton Hall looking ahead or whatever. I mean, they came out and stormed them and said right away, we're still in this, we're still playing, we're not giving up. And then they held on as Seton Hall inevitably made a run, which, they're a great team, they're going to do. And so a lot of credit to Xavier for that. I think that was as important as anything. And then as well, Georgetown on Sunday with Mac out and playing a team that's also trying to stay alive, to go on the road and fall behind and not play well and not have one of your best guys, maybe your best guy, and get a great game out of Yurtseven, who we've seen not play well in some of their bigger games. Really established himself in that one. So that was huge for the Hoyas. And that ultimately, as I said, it's a projection. So they've got a lot of work to do, but that got them in my field on Monday.
The NCAA selection committee will reveal the top 16 on Saturday afternoon. How many Big East teams do you expect in that?
Ooh, good question. Well, Seton Hall, Villanova, Creighton, I think that might be it. Butler. So those 4, I think those 4 all have a great shot. Like I said, Creighton might be on the 5 line if you don't see them on Saturday. And obviously, some of that depends on what happens. I don't know who plays what before that. But if you don't see Creighton on that 4, you can know that they're right behind it. They're lurking right behind. And I don't remember whether the committee says who just missed or whatever. I don't remember what the format of the show, whether they do that or not. But all you have to do is look at what I do for Fox or any of the other competitors, and you can see that they're right in the picture. So Butler, with the great resume that they have, even with the disappointing loss over the weekend, their resume is still rock solid. And there's the understanding to an extent. You don't get a total pass for missing Aaron Thompson. But if you come back and then you become basically the same team that you were while he was out there, then people say, yeah, well, they did pretty well with him and not so well without him. And so that maybe gets you a half a seed or something like that if you need it to climb a line. So I think that there's an understanding that there's still a lot more great basketball out there for Butler as well.
Let's look at Villanova. And it goes without saying, this is a huge week for them because they're at Butler on Wednesday night on FS1, then Saturday on Fox, hosting Seton Hall in the Big East game of the year to date. It's been one that's highly anticipated. What do you make of the Wildcats thus far, and how do you weigh this week?
Well, I mean, if they want to win the league, and I know they want to win the league because they basically owned it for the most part throughout the new Big East's existence, then I don't think they can do worse than split. They have to stay alive in the league. They have to split, and that's a challenge because both teams are terrific, and Butler's excellent at home. Obviously, I don't know Aaron's status relative to Wednesday night, but but with him, they are a dramatically better team. It makes them better at two positions and essentially makes them better at five because Aaron lifts everyone with the way he defends the ball. The ball doesn't move as freely when he's in the game, and the way he gets the offense moving in the direction that it wants to go. It also frees Kamar Baldwin to do what he does best, and so in theory it makes them only better at two positions, but Aaron's such a terrific point guard that it makes them better at all five and on both ends of the floor. So that's a factor that I can't really say what impact it'll have on Wednesday's game. But then Seton Hall probably a little grouchy about losing at home, not playing well. Needs to be ready for that game, and I think will be because of its importance. And I think they came into Butler and they got down early, and they didn't get down like they did in the Xavier game, but they got down and they didn't play great for about the first 5 or 6 minutes, but then they woke up and played really well for the next 35 or 30 or 34 minutes and took that game right away from the Bulldogs. And that was the Bulldogs at full strength. Aaron Thompson played a great game that night. And in the end, Seton Hall was just too good for them. So I don't think they're afraid of the road. That's not their nature. I think that's one of the reasons why those of us around the country who admire this team, that's one of the big reasons we like them, is because they have a mental toughness that's uncommon for college basketball teams and really uncommon in this particular season. I think Villanova is continuing to grow as a team. I honestly think they're ahead of where I thought they'd be at this point in the season. Even though they lose over the weekend to Creighton, I still think that they're an outstanding team. I mean, I believe I have them on my 3 line. They've had a great year to this point in the year, but I think they're still continuing to grow. I think Jay would probably say that as well. They've got great balance on offense. They have 6 double-figure scorers. That certainly helps. I think that they're not quite built the same as the great Villanova teams, the championship Villanova teams. They don't have a Darren Hilliard. If you want to go back to when they were just quote winning the league, and they don't have the army of wings that can hurt you in multiple ways that they had during the championship years. But they have a really good group of interchangeable parts that all can hurt you at different times in different ways. And I think Colin Gillespie's doing a really nice job as a point guard. I had a lot of doubters coming in, and I think he's chasing those doubters away with the way he's performed.
Looking like an all Big East first-team selection, potentially, Colin Gillespie for Villanova. You've covered the Big East a long time, and the one criticism since the conference reconfigures is depth in the second weekend of the tournament. We've seen 2 teams before, but never has the league gotten 3 Sweet 16 teams. How feasible is it this year?
Well, it's certainly they can put out on the floor 5 teams with reasonable possibilities to get to the second weekend. Seton Hall, Villanova, Creighton, Butler, Marquette, to a lesser extent Marquette. Marquette would have to play great and have to get the right matchups. But of course, everybody has to get the right matchups. I just think theirs would have to be a little bit more amenable to them. Certain types of teams are going to bother them. But I do think that you have that as a possibility. But again, it goes down to matchups. It goes down to health. Health is big. People don't look at health enough. If the Aaron Thompson injury had happened in March rather than now, for instance, I mean, it would certainly change Butler's horizons. So that's a big factor. And as well, it's where, whether you get a comfortable position, and there's a little luck involved as well. I mean, sometimes the ball, my good friend Fran Fraschilla has this little saying that he uses all the time. Ball's in the air. Good coach, bad coach. Good coach, bad coach. Depending on which way the ball floats, a lot of luck is involved. So I do think that they have candidates to do that.